Welcome back to the Nikki Clarke Radio Show on Radio John Dew. The show is about conversations that matter, and we have people from all walks of life who come and share their heart stories and some of the great accomplishments that they have under their belt in their life journey. And the show is about inspiring, it's about uplifting, and it's about empowering people. And we have an amazing gentleman on the line. His name is Nickolai Salcedo. He's a Trinidadian actor, singer, songwriter, musician, and visual artist. And he's been performing for many years as both an actor and frontman for the band Gyazette. And he was formally introduced to acting while attending the University of the West Indies. Now, since then, he's been a part of several productions, both on stage and on screen, including Pan, a featured docudrama about the development of the steelpan in the 20th century, and he's held lead roles in theater productions, including A Midsummer Night's Dream, playing the roles of Oberon and Duke Theseus, and Eddie in Fool for Love by Samuel Shepard, and the Trinidad Theater Network. Please welcome Nickolai Salcedo. How are you doing today, sir?
Hi, Nikki. I'm great.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. And I have to say that I'm a little bit of a fan. I saw you in your movie, Midsummer Night's Dream, and you were stellar. And I'm also a singer, so I appreciate, someone like you is like maybe a triple threat or a quadruple threat, like you do everything. It's really quite amazing. So let's hear your story. So how did you become, the frontman of the band Gyazette, and also being a part of the Caribbean Tales Film Festival?
Well, in terms of Gyazette, that started, I started that band in 2007, and it more or less developed out of me just beginning to write songs. One day I just woke up and songs started pouring out of me. And I met with an old friend from school. He happened to be playing bass guitar, and I said, "Hey man, let's start a band, or let's hang out, let's start some music." I was trying to get into music at that point, and we started jamming, and went to an open mic, and we were trying to come up with a name for the group. So we were trying to find something that kind of stuck and something that was kind of unique. We actually just, we were like flipping through a dictionary, stuck our finger, and it came up in G. And the first thing that we saw that really spoke to us was Gyazette, which is synonymous with, an old newspaper periodical in Trinidad and Tobago. And so we knew that the word would resonate with Trinidadians on the whole. So we ended up going with that name, and it really stuck. Like when they announced us at the open mic, people were like, "Whoa!" And ever since then, people kept being like, "Wow, man, the name." So that's how come I started Gyazette, and then we did that for some years. And with Caribbean Tales, I actually got involved with Hero, the production Hero, in 2013, late 2013. And started filming with them in 2014. And Hero will be coming out soon. It's coming out in September. And so I started doing work with Hero and with Frances Ann Solomon, who's the director. And she runs Caribbean Tales. So that's how I ended up being affiliated with Caribbean Tales on the whole. And that just introduced me to the wider Caribbean network of film and whatnot.
Okay. So what is your role then in the movie Hero? And can you describe a little bit the synopsis of it?
Okay. I'm the lead actor in the film, so I'm playing the hero, whose name is Ulrich Cross. It's a film about an actual Trinidadian man by the name of Ulrich Cross, well-respected, well-known, actually, in certain corners of the globe, I should say. But we're very well respected, and he did a lot of these great things. So the movie follows his life throughout the earlier part of his life, or the first 2/3 of his life. He died in 2013, lived to be, in his 90s. His life spanned practically the entirety of the 20th century. So we couldn't really cover every single thing, but it really looks at, I think, his coming of age and his work as a lawyer and judge and, Attorney General throughout West Africa and East Africa. He was a Trinidadian man that left to fight in World War II on the side of the British with the RAF, Royal Air Force, ended up becoming the most decorated West Indian in the war. And after he left, he had to contest with racism in Britain and wanted to be a lawyer, but couldn't be a lawyer in Britain because of, the color bar. And was given an opportunity by George Padmore and C.L.R. James, who were these notable Trinidadians working with the Pan-African movement at the time, or spearheading the Pan-African movement, rather. They gave him the opportunity to go and be a lawyer in Ghana, working with Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana at the time was becoming independent from Britain, and it was the first African nation to gain independence. So they offered him the chance to go and become a lawyer there, at which point his life really opened up, and then he became instrumental in, helping to draft the constitutions for a lot of the new independent nations. So the film really gets into all those things, all those parts of his life, and really follows his adventures throughout Africa and him having to deal with, or the movement having to deal with, rather, the interference of European nations, and first world powers who, were CIA, MI6, everybody's like getting in and whatnot. Yeah.
Wow, this sounds like my kind of movie, definitely. And it comes out next month, right? It premieres,
yes, it comes out in September.
Yeah, in Toronto.
Yes, in September. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know the exact day and where it's going to be launched?
Well, we're having a private, special screening in Toronto, but the world premiere itself is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, in Trinidad specifically, actually, on September the 18th. But in Toronto, we're having a preview screening on September the 5th.
Okay, and I believe it's at the Royal Cinema. Is that correct?
Yes, it is at the Royal Cinema. Sorry, that's my part. It's happening at the Royal Cinema on College Street in Toronto, September the 5th, and it's opening, so it will be at Caribbean Tales Film Festival.
Caribbean Tales. Okay, well, that's going to be exciting. I was there last year with my daughter, and we were just thrilled. It was such an amazing connection into one, Caribbean cinematography, to meet actors of the West Indian diaspora. It's really an amazing thing. It's very empowering, and my daughter, who is upcoming in the arts community, was really touched and inspired to do other things in her endeavors. But yeah, it's important to see. So I can imagine too that when you're connecting into the broader community on the international scene, have you experienced any challenges as a West Indian actor trying to go into other roles?
Of course, trying to, I guess for any actor stepping out of one's comfort zone, there's always going to be a challenge. Number one, for instance, there is the challenge of the way I speak, perhaps, and the thickness of my accent, which I think for this role specifically I've tried to soften, because he didn't speak with so heavy a Trinidadian, swing in the way he spoke. So there's that challenge, but then there's also the challenge of, breaking into other markets. You're always going to have those things as an artist of any kind, I guess. So, yeah.
Okay, excellent. What would you advise someone who is thinking of breaking out into acting, based on, your pearls of wisdom, everything that you have experienced and all the highs and lows? What would you suggest to someone who is on the fence and thinking about diving into the acting world?
Practice. As with anything else, it takes practice and dedication. You want to dedicate yourself wholeheartedly to the craft of really I don't want to say suppressing yourself, but you really have to put aside yourself and not be afraid to make a fool of yourself. Because what I've heard from a lot of people, their fears when it comes to acting is they feel like they look foolish. And I remember telling someone recently that, sorry, hello?
I guess it's a little fear of judgment. Yeah,
it's fear of judgment. Because you feel, and I know it, I feel it too. You know, you feel as though you're making a silly face or what have you. And as I've told them, the whole point is that you're not you. So who are you being judged as? You know, you're not being yourself. If you're being yourself, then you're not acting. You're just being yourself. So for me, I think the real key to becoming better at it is, as with anything, practice. And outside of that, network like crazy. You got to network.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How has your life been transformed through the success in your work? How has your life changed?
Well, I think that my life has gone through this total transformation, right? I took a huge leap of faith back in 2010 and left my job as an art teacher in a secondary school or high school. And ever since then, I can look back now and notice that there's been this remarkable shift in perspective in everything, in my whole total worldview, in the way I feel about me. You know, my world has become like so much bigger and richer. I mean, from the people that I've met and the places that I've been and the things that I've seen, you know, traveling to Ghana and London and Canada and the world has kind of become my oyster. Because we went to Ghana and England to film for Hero. And just being in those new spaces, experiencing those new cultures, you know, places we had to shoot in the slave castles in Ghana and Cape Coast, those things really affected me, changed me, made me realize my history, shared human histories, and it just, I don't know. I hope that anybody who knows about traveling could understand it. It just really affects you if you're human enough to be affected. You know, it really enriches your life. And yeah. I don't want to say too much and make it seem like I'm just rambling, but it's something sometimes I feel like I don't know how to put it into words. You know, I'm a big history buff, but it's a much different thing to experience those things firsthand. Like all the history I've loved and read about for years, and then you actually go and see these things. And I look back and I think sometimes I've felt, you know, you leave a stable job to go and do, you know, what your heart really desires, and there are days when you feel like, why did I do that? That was really dumb. And then I look back occasionally and I'm like, that was the smartest decision you could have ever made. Look at where you are today.
Yeah, you would never know.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you would never know if you don't go over that wall of fear, what's on the other side. Right?
Jump.
You just got to take that. You got to jump. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there may not be a safety net, but you never know unless you try. So it's amazing that there are people like you who are intrepid and just go for it. And look what the world has offered you in exchange for that. So I'm so grateful for your time with us. I know you're very busy. You're in the middle of many productions, but we've learned a great deal about you. And I look forward to the premiere of Hero. And also, staying in touch with you and finding out, all the other projects that you're involved in. So the listeners want to know, how can they reach out to you on social media? Well,
I'm on Facebook and Instagram mainly. On Facebook, I'm Nickolai Salcedo. That's Nickolai, last name Salcedo, and on Instagram and at Nickolai.Salcedo. And that's it. Those are the two main social media hubs that I frequent. Because other than that, I'm making music all the time and painting as an artist and just working, So.
Okay. And what type of music? What's your genre?
Sorry, say again?
What's the type of music you're making? What type of genre?
I'm making world music. It's calypso based, but these days I'm just calling it world music. Personally, I prefer not to say any genre because I think it's just Nickolai Salcedo music. I mean, for me, it comes from deep within, and I try not to fit in any box. I try to avoid labels. So I've started just using the label of world music as an umbrella term, but I do know that it's calypso-based because it's music mixed from, my influences. And my influences growing up were David Rudder and Tricanal, Andre Tanker, But then I also kind of grew up on David Bowie and Marilyn Manson and Tupac Shakur, and I just kept spreading wider and wider into wider circles. It was Bob Marley, Ravi Shankar. Like, I really listened to a very wide variety, and it all creeps in. It really all creeps in, You can hear all of it.
Well, you hear all of it. Well, I look forward to it, and definitely look out for one of my friend requests on Facebook. We're going to keep following you, and looking forward to seeing you soon in September at the launch in Toronto. And everyone else, if you're in Trinidad, you got to go and see the movie Hero and follow all the great things that Nickolai Salcedo is doing. So thank you very much for your time. You've been listening to the Nikki Clarke Radio Show. You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. And a very special guest, Nickolai Salcedo, singer, songwriter, and actor. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.